Yo, welcome everybody. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing.
Well, TCR TJ is the Season 13 Golden Class Champion for Trinity Competitive Racing.
Oh, let's go, dude! Yes!
Jabbar on the podium! He's on it by a 10! Gentlemen, side by side through one. And silent, and Seabreeze gets a half spin.
Let's fucking go!
Wheel bumping. DRS enable, let's do it. And Captain Blade battling it out for position. Captain Blade. Ickle, what the? Then McChicken goes around and he also makes
rewind down the front straight. Oh my god!
I gotta check the heart rate.
Why do we do this? Because of nights like this.
Go.
Damn, just like that. All right. Yo, welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to episode number 16 for the Racing Debrief, TCR's podcast where we combine the world of e-racing, sim racing, and TCR with real-life motorsports and Formula One, a true racing enthusiast. Listen, I'm your host, Seafreeze, alongside co-host Chabar and producer D'Angelo returning, and we have a special guest platinum class driver of the what car are you in, Captain?
No.
Oh, you're reserve. Yeah, you're right. You're reserve. So reserve driver, platinum class,
That's
Captain Blade.
driver.
Yeah, AlphaTauri. But so that's what we got today, and we got the Brazil Grand Prix pretty much the entire weekend because a lot of stuff has happened, and arguably, it's probably the best race of this season. I mean, we're gonna go over it all in full, but it's definitely one of the better races in a long time. So it was definitely enjoyable, and the whole weekend I thought was full and good for F1, and we needed at least something towards this season. But what did you guys think in general, and then we'll really get into it about the whole weekend.
All right, I guess I'll go first. I agree. I thought it was like you can't ask for much more action on any given race week, and there's a lot going on. Like pit stops aren't necessarily the most exciting thing, but at one point, like we had green racing, so there was strategy involved, and at one point they had like the pit stop timer graphic up, and I think like 4 or 5 drivers had that up at the same time because like they were all going in. There's people overtaking different strategy attempts, and I thought it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and D'Angelo or Captain, what'd you guys think of it?
I think it was very exciting. Probably, I'd give it the best race of the season. You know, there was action, crashes, and honestly, I think it had the most drama out of all the races. So, I think it could have gone better. You know, you had Mercedes come out with a 1-2 out of pure pace. You know, and we had some comeback drives with Lewis coming back, Charles coming back too, really. With Paris fighting for his place with Charles, and it was pretty good.
And D'Angelo, did you watch the race today as well?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really good. It was nice to see George get his first win and everything, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, strategy played a big part today, which was very interesting because usually Brazil, it's known for its strategy, but when it comes to weather, and it was not known to weather, it was just dry racing strategy all the way through. So that was really interesting. But yeah, it was a very exciting race with some drama, as there always is at Brazil, but that's normal.
Yeah, and coming in, was once again the sprint week. They did that last year, and it returned again for Brazil. I think it's a pretty good track to have the sprint race at. I think, given the championship was kind of already decided as far as I guess both the top spots in the championship. as everyone else is still fighting for their positions, was kind of already captured. It kind of meant a little less in that regard. It was more just go out there and try to win it. But I actually didn't even know. It's weird because they do these sprint races, and every time they've done one, I've never known until I'm like, oh, they're qualifying today. Why is that? It's a sprint week. I feel like they do a bad job. Like, did you guys know it was even a sprint week? Like, when did you know, or did you know beforehand that it was
I
a
knew it
sprint
was
week?
I
I knew it was a
knew,
sprint
but
race.
yeah, I knew, but they really don't advertise it or like announce it very well either. Which
Yeah,
when there's alternating formats, I feel like you probably should.
Yeah,
I knew it was a sprint race. Oh.
yeah.
I knew it was a sprint race because I have.
Third time.
Go,
Third
just
time's a
go.
charm.
Go. You guys.
Okay. But yeah, I only knew it was sprint weekend because I don't know why, but my brain is like it memorized all the sprint race locations for this season when I first saw it. I was Yeah, that's the only reason I knew. Like when I saw the schedule for this season when it came out last year, I was like, huh. Yep, my brain knows where all the sprint races are.
Yeah, I didn't really remember. I knew it was a sprint race because I have like a widget thing for my phone,
Mhm.
and I
Box?
seen, yeah, and I seen that it
Yeah.
was. I was like, oh, it's a sprint race. Oh shit. But yeah,
Yeah.
they need to do a better job at like kind of promoting it or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
have
I
the widget
agree as
too. I
well.
like checking what time things start because it's different every week. So I have that up on my phone too.
What's this thing called? The widget? What is this?
Called
It's
Box
called,
Plus.
yeah,
There's probably other ones, but that's the one I
yeah.
use
The
and it's
one
good.
the one that I have is Formulify.
Interesting. What does that do?
It just so you know how you can have like those little information on your phone, like your battery charge of your Apple Watch and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, so you can pretty much do it, and the app you install, and it lets you have multiple things like the race that you're going to be at, the times, the championship you could have,
You have like a specific
just some,
driver's points.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh wow.
It can
just
give
some
you like
information.
yeah, it can give you like as little or as much information as you want, either on the lock screen widget or I have a widget not on the lock screen. I guess it's on my home screen. Whatever. Like when I unlock my phone, I just have like qualifying 9 a.m., race 8 a.m. That's what I'm most interested in.
Oh, maybe I got to go to the widget route. This
Yeah,
way,
check it out. Then
don't
you'll
forget.
know. Then you'll know it's a
Well,
sprint week.
I hopefully. I mean, if I wouldn't know even with that, that'd be a problem. So yeah, the qualifying was mixed conditions. The full qualifying for the full qualifying and sprint, I wasn't able to watch it in full. I saw the highlights, but man, I was so happy for the Haas team and for Kevin Magnussen. Obviously, it wasn't on true pace, but it was legit. It's not, it was still a legit session that had happened. Obviously, different situations and circumstances with the mixed conditions and them having to stop in Q3, and then the conditions got worse. It allowed Magnussen's lap that he did earlier in the session to kind of stand. So pretty much anybody could have gotten that luck, but it just so happened to be Kevin Magnussen. It's his 100th race with the Haas team this weekend, and I thought it started off really well with this. You could just see, like, at the end of qualifying, like when Magnussen got out of the car and just kind of like was squatting on the cockpit there, and he was just pumping his fist, like you could just see like that excitement come right off of him and in the whole garage, the whole team. It really like it's Haas's first pole position, so that means a lot to a smaller team, not a big manufactured team that gets them all the time like Mercedes or Red Bull. this meant a lot for the team. You could see Gunter going out and waving to the fans. I thought that was a really cool moment. And for me as a Haas fan, and not only a Haas fan, but I like the Haas team and also K-Mag. That was like really, really cool to see. You could just see like, hey, this guy's pretty good too. He deserves a moment here in Formula One. Not every time, depending on the machinery, do the drivers get to showcase their skills, but I thought that was well deserved, and all the other drivers respected him, and it was, happy for him as well to get it. And I think he'll definitely remember that for a long time, even though it wasn't a win. It was a pole position, and which wasn't really expected on that given day. So it was a good surprise, and that obviously allowed him to get some points in the sprint race. But that whole start to the weekend, it was a really good moment.
I was watching qualifying, cracking up the whole time, and like Forzan said it first. Check out the TCR Discord in the description. He's like, K-Mag's gonna get pole. I don't know if he believed in it or not, but K-Mag got that first lap out in the dry, clean air. Then George Russell made it stick.
Yeah, right. He's the one who spun out and got into the gravel, and that kind of
The rain turned in on him.
what happened? What turned in on him?
Rain turned in on him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a cool moment. And then you had the sprint race, which there was a lot of overtakes in there. The quite surprising. I wasn't able to watch that one live either, but you had Russell. This is interesting now. Russell gets his first win, not a Grand Prix win, but an actual win in the sprint race. So as his first win, which is definitely one for a trivia question. I don't think that's ever happened before, or maybe it'll happen again. But and Max was starting because K Max started on the pole for the sprint race, and obviously some were like, oh, maybe K Mac can do it. And you know what? On the lighter fuel, I mean the car's not terrible, but it's definitely not as good as the other teams up there. But he knew he wasn't really fighting that. I think he was able to get still some points. I think 7th he finished, so in the sprint race. But Russell got the win, but Max seemed, I don't know really what happened with him with the struggles he had, but it definitely put him on the back foot for the Grand Prix in the actual race today. Does anyone know why he was struggling in that sprint race, Max?
I think it was just
know.
a lack of pace, honestly. Red Bull in the practice session on Friday wasn't very quick, and they weren't quick in FP2 on Saturday. They were lacking a lot of pace in both sessions, and then even in qualifying, they weren't really that fast either. They just got lucky with the conditions to get as high as place that they did, honestly. So
Okay.
I didn't really get to watch the sprint race, actually. Probably should have mentioned that.
Honestly, I think Red Bull just got it wrong. They thought that the softs will drop off in pace towards the end of the sprint race, but obviously, as we've seen, it didn't. And due to the amount of pace that the softs had over the mediums, it just made it look like he was struggling over pace. But honestly, I think it was just the Mercedes was just the better car, honestly. And then after he got damaged, obviously it just started tumbling down for him.
Yeah, right. Because in the sprint race, Max started on the mediums, right?
He did.
And everyone else, for the most part, was on the soft tire, at least around him. But he was still able to beat Perez in the sprint race. But yeah, so all that was fun, and it was leading up to a really interesting, fun Grand Prix. anything else through the one shot, or not the one shot, but the qualifying and the sprint race that you kind of picked up on?
I guess my takeaway, I did watch a little bit. I was just distracted with something else, another issue, but like I thought K-Mag would be overtaken into turn one. Like I thought someone would get a better start, and I was like over under turn 4 with my friend, and he stayed up there for like, was it 3 laps maybe at least? Like, so he outperformed my expectations in the sprint race.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I didn't want to go to the sprint race and then Magnussen gets overtaken by turn one. I at least wanted to see some fight from Magnussen and Haas, and he lasted a few laps, but he did what they could with the car that they had. But then we had a little bit of a Alpine battle in the sprint race, didn't we? They had some contact. The team got together. Alonso says, "Oh, I got some damage from our friend," uh, as in Ocon, and it was his fault. But they both had penalties from 2 incidents with each other, I believe, and they started way back. I think the second, 17th and 18th or something like that. And the team was really, adamant about, what they were doing on track. Like, hey, we still have to beat McLaren and the constructors. Like, we can't be doing this. And they talked to them, make sure that it wouldn't happen today. Later on, we'll discuss when we get to the team orders. Alpine was also involved with that, and we'll get with that and see if that worked out for them. But um, that was a little bit. I feel like we've seen that a lot of the year with Alonso and Ocon with some battles. Um, it, I
Yeah,
think
it
it
started in the
really
very
comes up to Ocon, because Ocon, we've seen this before with Ocon and Perez when they were at Force India or Racing Point. I don't know, whatever that was, but they've always had contact then. And I think Ocon, I mean, man, Ocon, he doesn't care either. He's going to do the best he can for himself. Um, but Alonso is his teammate in this year, and he does. Alonso as well. He could play as a team guy, but he also wants to be the leader there. So it's just two egos fighting it out, and eventually that'll break. But what were we gonna say, Chipboy?
I don't remember now.
Oh, all right. Well, anywho, so then we go to the Grand Prix. Was able to watch this one in full, and
Oh, I remember. I said that it
mhm.
started in the very first race of the season, I think. That they were
No,
going back and
Jeddah.
forth. Or was it maybe the Jeddah, the second race, I think?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Jeddah.
We were just going back and forth. And yeah, it's continued. And Fernando had that comment this weekend. I don't know if it was after the sprint race or the feature race, but he's like, yeah, just one more race finally.
Yeah, well we'll see how that goes. I feel like we'll see how that goes next season with him and Strolly Boy. But yeah. So I know a few episodes back, probably on the podcast, we were saying, um, you know, when will Mercedes strike? Right. I think we have to kind of start with that to a degree. I said that Brazil was probably their best shot. I thought it would be more Lewis's shot, but more surprisingly today, we'll get into in a little bit about his incident really hurt him from even getting a shot at the win. But Russell, was on it the sprint race, he got the win there. And it was really straightforward. There's really no threats from Russell besides the last safety car. And there was a point he pitted and just got out ahead of Sainz, but he was on fresh tires, so he was able to pull away. The gap he had throughout the race was good. He was good through the middle sector. You could see he was gaining, staying out of the side, the DRS, when Hamilton was closing in at the end. But it was definitely Mercedes' performance increased, and Mercedes, they've kept increasing their development every week. I think Red Bull and Ferrari, they've stopped. So Mercedes are finally caught up. They're they're better than Ferrari performance-wise, and now they just beat Red Bull 1-2. Pretty much pure performance-based. Which if you're going into next season, we got to watch out for the Silver Arrows again.
Yeah, and like you said, it's Brazil. Lewis Hamilton is going to come to play for his home Grand Prix. But yeah, Mercedes definitely leveled the playing field, and having seen the dominance of Red Bull this season, I think it's like a nice taste of what could be to come next season.
Yeah, almost every race is a home race for Lewis. He's either got citizenship or in that country, or he's got a house in it. So um,
He has to keep up with Max, who has 3 home races.
yeah, you're right too. I guess it's yeah, you're right. He's got Austria,
Spa, and
for Red Bull, Belgium, and Netherlands.
yeah.
He's both.
It,
I think he was born in Belgium,
orange.
which gets kind of underrated. He really leans into the Dutch orange.
He was born in Belgium, but his parents are from
They're both
the
Dutch.
Netherlands. I think
thought
his
his mom
dad
might
is.
be Belgian.
His dad is.
No,
His
I
mom
think-
might
His
be.
dad is definitely Dutch. Is his mom
Yeah.
Belgian, maybe?
Probably, I think.
And don't forget Lando Norris, famous Belgian also.
Yep, Dutch.
Ooh, what about
Yes.
Lando Norris?
Lando's Belgian too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his mom's Belgian. Like he has some like half and half or something.
Oh, okay.
All these
Now
all
the
these
more-
rich F1 dads get some hot Belgian wives.
Yeah,
Guess
Max's mom is Belgian.
Okay, so that's the formula there
He
to
like,
get
really
to
doesn't
F1.
rep them. He doesn't put on for Belgium.
No, he doesn't. He does. He does for Netherlands because his dad did.
If I'm Belgium, I'm
Mm.
like, what the fuck? He really doesn't put on. Sorry, I
Um,
derailed the conversation there. I think we're talking about Mercedes moving forward.
No, that's actually interesting. I was just thinking, I'm like, man, because if you look at the stats, right, in each country, as far as what countries have more wins and championships and all that, it's really up to the driver to decide, what he is going to, represent. So, this I guess could have been representing the Belgian flag instead of Netherlands, and that could have some implication. Then you might not
Yeah.
even be in the
Alex Albon
Netherlands.
has that Thai flag, like it's like part of his contract, to my understanding.
Well, maybe we'll have a tie race eventually. But that's what I'm saying. If he never had the flag, we may not even be in the Netherlands racing.
If Lewis
know what I
won,
mean?
what anthem are they playing?
I guess he should randomize it. You can see who chooses.
Shuffle. They,
Make a playlist.
I mean, there's a lot of back and forth between Lewis and Max fans, a lot of calling each other dick riders for their favorite drivers. Don't forget, Lewis is legally Brazilian because his favorite driver was from there. That's kind of crazy. Like, people just overlook that.
Yeah, well, he got something this weekend, right? What did he get?
I think he got like
citizenship or something like that.
Yes,
I think he got, like-
he's officially a citizen.
he's a
of-
citizen. He's a citizen of Brazil because his favorite driver was born in this
No,
land.
they also gave it to him. He has a citizenship now for Brazil.
You could have
Yeah.
multiple citizenships, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah.
I'm dual citizen.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of.
That's why I
some
race
people
under
have
the
like.
Polish flag in TCR.
I could be an American citizen, but I
Nah,
don't.
it's all
So.
right. It's all right.
A lot of people have more than two.
It's all right.
There's some
We'll
countries
save that
that
another
don't
day.
allow it though. They're like I don't know. Let's say Denmark might be like, you're either in or you're out. Like,
Mm.
there's no dual citizenships with us. That's an example. I don't know if Denmark does that, but I know there are countries like that.
Okay, interesting. Oh, all right. Well, I didn't really know that, but that's an interesting little tidbit there. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know really. So the race, So it kind of was all over the place. I had a hard time thinking and who's battling for what position, because I think some drivers did a 3-stop, a 2-3 stop. Like no one touched the hard tire. I don't think at all. It
No.
was
It was
softs
really
and
hard to
mediums.
follow. My roommate said it like while we were watching. He's like, "Dude, I don't know who's racing who. Like, what's happening?"
Well, it only
Which is a
really
good thing, actually. I think.
it only really got to 3 stops because of the safety car at the end, towards the end, when everyone went to softs. That's really the only reason it got to 3 stops. Because planned green all the way through was a 2-stop.
Yeah.
But with
Probably
like
2-stop, but some people were. I think Sainz was trying a 3. Um, he
then you had
pitted quite early.
Max and Leclerc in the back really early, so like they're fighting their way up, and you forget who has pitted, who hasn't. Like, is he gonna overtake this guy? Like, is he net ahead of them or not? Like, there was a lot happening.
Oh well, let's go firstly to the first thing that really happened. So they got off well. Russell got off well. Mercedes, everyone got off well. Go to the middle sector, and just like that, Magnussen's race had ended with Ricardo's contact, which I even forgot had happened until with everything else happening into the race and how the race was ending as well. But it was just seemed like a very clumsy mistake by Ricardo, like very clumsy. Like there was no need
And like
for
some
that.
instant karma.
Yeah, he got right out. He kind of thought he barely touched the back of Magnussen, but because of the elevation going into that corner, I feel like maybe would have unsettled the car a little bit. And he just got spun like that. And it was unfortunate because Haas, I thought he would have been battling, I think, with Vettel and Bottas, and I think he would have been, fighting for some points here today. Um, with him out of the race so early, like not much has happened. It was half a lap. They had to put all their faith into Schumacher, and yeah, it just weren't going to really get many points on his half. But Magnussen out after really good start to the weekend. I think he pretty much watched the entire race from the infield. I don't think he
Yeah,
got
I saw like
run
a
back.
tweet that he was like stuck there.
Yeah,
Like,
which I
this
guess
is
is
so bridges.
not a bad place to watch a race from. I mean, obviously he would rather be on track, but hey,
Or
if you
the
have
seat
to, yeah, he was sitting
sitting in
there.
the mud.
Yeah. No, I think he stole one of the Marshall's little stools, and he was just chilling there. And it'd be kind of funny if you were another driver going through, and every lap you saw Magnussen.
Like a hitchhiker on the side of the road. But what about Ricardo? Did Ricardo get away? Like, did
he
he like
he
take a
went back,
rescue?
yeah, because he I saw him later on the race. He had the headset on, helping
But
Lando until
Magnussen
his
chose
engine.
not to, right? Because like
Yeah, he
obviously it was
chose
an
a
option.
he. I think he went into the infield because he needed a minute to regroup, to just kind of be like, "Wow, what just happened?" Um, and then I think he may be denied a ride back. Sometimes drivers will kind of do that or walk back. But even if he tried walking back, there's no way to get back to the pit lane, so he'd be stuck with the crowd. I don't know. So he just decided to stay there. Ricardo went back and he decided to put the headset on. It was just a really
Ricardo could.
clumsy mistake, clumsy incident. 100% on Ricardo. He came, what was last week? Mexico, we didn't cover, but he had a penalty there from Sonoda. If you agree or not, that's up to you. But this one was definitely his fault, and it just ended pretty poorly. It's not like even a move was really on. It was just a slight contact, and yeah, over like that.
Yeah, Ricardo could take K-Mag out of the race, but he can't take that pole away. And I think K-Mag walks away. That's a W weekend. He's never going to forget that pole he got. The celebration was a bunch of fun. And honestly, maybe took him out of his misery. Like if he got pole and then finished like P15 with no issues like that, maybe he bailed him out a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, I still think he would have possibly gotten some decent points today. if he put a clean one together. I think his pace all weekend was quite good. But I guess we'll never really know. But his teammate, you look. I don't know if anyone could do a quick Google, but I don't know how many points Magnussen has over his teammate, but I know Magnussen definitely has a lot more.
Yeah, I have the standings up.
Yeah, what is that now?
So, where's Magnussen has 25, Schumacher 12.
All right, so he's doubling his teammate, which 12's not bad, but you would like to see a little bit more. So, like on a day where the car is obviously strong. I mean, he was within the points. His pace is decent, but his teammate, not really able to do enough. After he had a good sprint race, Schumacher he went up from the back of the grid. I think he moved up to 12th, I want to say. And 12th starting for the race is pretty good, especially when two cars right in front of you get spun out. All right, now you're at 10th, but just like he couldn't really get much going from there. So that's unfortunate, and his seat is not confirmed yet. So we'll see if he does get an extension. I think we should be hearing about that seat relatively soon, because I think it's the only seat that's not decided yet.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah. So we'll see what Haas does there. So then that happens. Then the next battle, thinking, oh, all right, now it's Mercedes and Red Bull. Let's see how this race will go. And it kind of ended very shortly and abrupt again. And I guess that would be the Hamilton and Max incident they had. Um, just as in last year, these two keep coming together. And this is the real, I guess, another controversial weekend between Max fans and Lewis fans. And not only this, but what we'll get to later on with the radio messages. The stewards actually decided to give Max a 5-second time penalty. And on the commentary booth, Martin Brundle, he disagreed. He thought Lewis was at fault. I disagree with both of them. I think it's more of a racing incident. But I guess with the guidelines and the stewards rule, they put 5 seconds to Max, which is a very minor incident, but it really did take both of them out of the race for the majority of it. They were playing catch up for the rest of it. And whereas Lewis did get that safety car later on in the race to possibly go for the win against Russell, it just wasn't enough to really be their all race. And Max was fighting from the back as well. Probably a little bit of damage on either car, possibly, because obviously they did collide. But what are you guys' thoughts on the collision? And did you agree with the steward's decision?
I think. Okay, so I think the decision was could have gone either way, racing incident or penalty for Max. I don't think Lewis was at fault there, really, as he was ahead and he had all the rights to really close the door, and Lewis didn't really close the door. He still left a little bit of space for Max just in case he had like that, front wing on the inside of it. But if you see the overhead or even onboard of Max, he accelerates down the inside, even though that gap is going to close
I have the
anytime.
clip ready. Anyone
Yeah,
want
let's check it out. Let's see it coming into turn one. Here's some commentary by Freeze here. Max goes in deep on the brakes. He gets ahead, and then Lewis gets ahead, and then they collide right on the apex, which I don't know. When I feel like both drivers, in my opinion, could have avoided this. I also think that
Look at that.
it wasn't really needed.
Weight loss on the wheel.
What happened with the damage?
Yeah, I was just pointing out how the wheel cover fell off. That's an unfair advantage of a lighter car.
Ooh.
How many tenths is that
and
wheel cover worth?
probably not even probably not
Also, right
even
on the
They're
apex,
already.
D'Angelo.
nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, on Max's point of view, go right on the apex of when they show. Yeah, so you could see now. For me, either yeah, Lewis might have given enough room. You could, but this is very similar to the incident with when Max was leading the race a couple seasons ago, and Ocon was in the racing point, I believe, at the time, and he was trying to unlap himself, and they had contact at this corner, and I believe Ocon got a penalty, but in that situation, he was a lapped car trying to overtake to get back onto the lead lap because he was on fresher tires, and Max didn't really, you know, given it was like there or thereabouts on the room, I would say, but Ocon got the
he
penalty.
shouldn't have worried about a lapped car trying to overtake him at all.
Right, and I agree. I mean, he is entitled to get that lap back, but you really don't expect to put on too much of a fight, right? So I think at the end of the day, it would be a little bit more towards the blue flag car that he would be at fault because, you know, but yeah, I would say with this one, since it'd be both on the lead lap, I feel like it's a little different, and you could see right on the apex there. I would think Max is significantly alongside. I think he is entitled to some room. I also think
Yeah,
he could
but
back out, and I also think Lewis could leave more room, and that's why I tend to go racing incident because, uh, uh, yeah, I think it could have been avoided on both ends, but this is the thing I was thinking about when thinking about an incident like this. I think that Lewis is a very clean, smart racer. I think if you look at a lot of the incidents that he's been in the last couple seasons, but even across, like, he doesn't get into many incidents. A lot of them are either controversial, where they can go either way, like a racing incident, or um but very few were like 100% his fault. Like the last one I could really think of with no questions asked was actually here at Brazil when he took Albon out, um when he was in Red Bull. That was like 100% Hamilton, no questions asked. There was no discussion. That, is what, 2019. That's pretty. There might be a few other examples, but Lewis throughout the race is pretty smart like that. I don't consider him to be someone who gets into many incidents. Max is very aggressive. That's his style. I think he's known for that. I mean, if you look with his shorter career, since he's been less years than Lewis, he's had incidents and different altercations with many of the drivers. He's had definitely fair share with Hamilton, Leclerc back in like 2019. He's had incidents with pretty much anyone really, and it's really come down to he doesn't back out. He doesn't give much room, and I feel like in this one too, he went for the gap and it closed, and it hurt him. But you know, every other driver at some point or another will back out. Max doesn't do that. And I feel like this one, he should have backed out, in my opinion. But I wouldn't know if I would put the blame on him. I think it'd be a little too close. But it's like this time, like Lewis probably knows we're going to get contact on turn two. So he would like to back out, but he can't do that every time he races with Max because then it just will keep happening. But I think at some point or another, Max will need to learn to back out of some situations. I don't know. That's just my thought process when looking at this incident and kind of the recent incidents that they both had.
I kind of agree with you. Before I forget it, it's more of a who wants to back out and who doesn't. But here's the thing: last year, how many times did Lewis back out of Matt's going down the inside and Lewis having to back out with it just so they don't make contact.
Many.
It happened many times. It happened in Imola, Spain,
Last lap of
even
Abu Dhabi.
last lap of Abu Dhabi. Yeah,
Jeddah, final corner. I mean, a lot of Jeddah.
so
He's a lot
so
of
many
Jeddah.
times Lewis has had to like back out of it when he doesn't really need to. So I think it got to the point where Lewis, when it comes to Mats, he's just giving Mats a little bit of his own medicine. I like to call it.
Yeah, and it worked out today because Lewis finished ahead of him and he got a podium out of it. And Max,
Yeah.
for most of the race, was at the back because of that contact. And I think this one, if anything, Max had to be the one to back out, opposed from Lewis, because Lewis was more the driver ahead. If anyone was going to back out, it's Max. But like I said, you could give him the 5 second. I don't think it's Lewis's fault, but I would have went with the racing incident just because he was significantly alongside whilst right at the apex.
Here's the thing. He was alongside, yes, but he wasn't sufficiently alongside to the point where Lewis has to concede the corner. I
don't know. I would disagree because I think
and
he's pretty much wheel to wheel with him.
Okay, he's wheel to wheel after he pretty much dived the inside. I think if you watch there's a helicopter view that they showed. You can see the difference in speed where Lewis is on the outside, and the outside line is usually the faster line in terms of speed, while the inside you have to slow down more. Meanwhile, Mats went on the inside and he sped up quite a lot. If you see it, it's like almost like a dive bomb.
So you think he just put his car in the position rather than was there the entire time?
He put his car in the position, and here's the thing. Let's say Lewis did give him space, right?
Well, Max would just run him off for turn 3.
Yeah, so he will get. Yeah, this is the only thing that is going to happen. I think there was still going to be contact just because of the speed that Matt's had, and the curve was going to, kind of like launch him a little bit towards Lewis. So it would have just been probably really bad for Lewis because Matt would have probably just hit his rear wheel and spun him around. So.
And there's been many times
that
throughout
very well
the
could have
season.
happened.
Yeah, go ahead, Jabbar.
That very well could have happened, but we won't know because Lewis didn't leave any room.
No, I
don't
think
know
there was
about
room.
any
Kind
room.
of like him in
There was
Alonso
room.
in Belgium.
No, I wouldn't say to that regard.
Nah.
Because Lewis in that one was 100% at fault for that one. He definitely. I mean, you could see it. You could definitely see the difference.
Yeah, I would agree. Less than 100% this time around, but
I mean, you could see at the point of contact, Max is fully on track, like even the thumbnail of the video, there was just enough there. But I guess if you're going off of what you were just mentioning is that Max put himself, he kind of accelerated into position, and that's why Lewis probably didn't leave him the room. If he was there for the entirety of the corner side by side, which it wasn't, because if you go to turn 1, Max is ahead, then Lewis is ahead, it's kind of a slingshot, accelerate just to get positioning. It wasn't, let's go directly wheel to wheel, front to front, back to back as far as the tires through the entirety of the corner. This one, I think both could have avoided, but it's at some point I think Max does need to learn. I don't know what lap this was. It was very early on.
7?
It was after the safety car restart. It was on the lap of the safety car.
Okay, so that was literally lap 2, I guess you can say, because there was a lot of laps under the safety car. But yeah, I don't know. It's it is what it is, I guess. But
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think that was lap 7.
It was. Yeah, I just checked.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just a biased Max fan, but we talked about this before. How lucky is Lewis? Nothing ever like ruins his car or race. And like we mentioned, like the Imola thing, like he almost beats his car, but oh, safety car bailed out like every time.
Yeah, he's
I
lucky. I
mean,
mean,
Like,
Max is lucky
yeah,
of
too.
course,
I
yeah,
thought they both had punctures, but he slowed down really a lot. But I think Lewis is smart when
he
there is
must not have had a puncture.
contact.
He didn't pit.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looked like it, but it's probably because he went off that escape road and had dirty tires and stuff like that. But I feel like whenever there is contact, Lewis knows how to keep the car from hitting someone else, a wall, let it keep going. So, he's kind of smart in that regard. Like, I feel like if he was the one who got spun in Magnussen's situation, or, if Lewis he probably would have held the brake or did something different to where he didn't get hit by Ricardo or something. Like, I feel like he's just really smart. Even if he does get hit, all right, I have to keep my car moving. And actually, that was the next incident, which I thought he was out. Then I look a few laps later, and he wasn't. It was Leclerc. Literally, I think, a few corners after we had Lando Norris and Leclerc, and I'm
yeah.
sitting here like, what's going on?
Yeah, that looked like it could
They,
have been net code or a side pod glitch.
That was definitely side pod glitch right there. That one was purely Lando, and you could see it because he was trying to overtake. There was room given, so defending was clean from Leclerc's point of view, and you could just see Lando was understeering up the track, didn't really have full control of the car, and just kind of went into Leclerc. I saw that a similar incident a few years ago. I know it was back when Grosjean was at Haas. He had an incident through that corner as well, similar. When you're going side by side up, I think that's turn 6 and 7. You get the car just likes to wash up the track a little bit, and if you're the inside car, you have to be a little extra careful because you will slide up into the other driver, and the other driver is only going to give you a marginal amount of room, if that. So Leclerc spun off. He does hit the wall, and I was looking on board with him. He was, moving his hands, mad and everything, and I think he even thought he was out, but he was able to keep going, and that was good because I didn't want more cars out of the race. We needed them in to just kind of add to the racing at Brazil. But it was a little sloppy at first, but then it kind of settled down, and I don't think we had any other major incidents or anything besides Lando Norris getting the engine cut out. But apart from that,
Dude,
it
can we
was
talk
good.
about the car extraction when Lando's DNF'd?
Yeah, well,
Those poor
yeah, go ahead.
marshals trying to push it, like where were they going? They like zoomed out on it from the helicopter. They were pushing it like 1 foot every 30 seconds, and they zoomed out and they were just like pushing it towards the track at like a dead end with no escape route or anything. Like, what did they think they were doing? Why
Well,
was it VSC for so long?
I'll tell you this. I thought the first incident took a long time to clean up with Magnussen and Ricardo. Yeah, there's a lot of debris and everything, but I noticed even before the Lando incident, there was like a lot, or not a lot, should say, not a lot. I didn't see like hardly any marshals at all. And I didn't really see many, like, they have the cranes and trucks. I didn't see any of that, like maybe here and there, but you go to some other tracks and you have a bunch of marshals when and this was was it the same part of no, it was a couple corners after where Lando, but it was still in the middle sector or so. But when they went to retrieve Lando's car, you only had three marshals. That was it. Like, and there was no crane or anything to help them to move it. They were just kind of stranded, maybe due to the elevation and the grass. But yeah, you're right. He was kind of. I thought it would have been an easy, all right, just roll the car off. But it was going downhill, so I think they they got it rolling too quick, and then it just kind of went left instead of right. But
And then Lando like sat down on some stool or whatever and crossed his legs. He just looked like a child being potty trained or something. It was a funny visual.
yeah, I saw that too. I'm like, yeah, I wonder what he's thinking right now because then both McLarens were out, and yeah, I don't know. The Marshall seemed a little slow today in this one, but I thought
Both.
the racing, as far as like safety car, VSC, I thought everything like that was good, and it allowed the race to kind of be genuine, nothing artificially done. It was very good like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a race like done on track for the most part. But like you said, the double DNF for McLaren, big implications with their constructor battle with Alpine. So if what I'm looking at is updated, which it should be, it's the F1 website. Alpine now has a 19 point lead. Yeah.
Yep.
So
19
like
point gap,
that's
and same as Mercedes and Ferrari, also 19 points
oh
going into the final race. And I believe the other team, later on, I think you have Aston Martin, I think 5 points behind Alfa Romeo, and Haas just a few points out from AlphaTauri. So those positions can definitely change. I think it would take a lot for who's ahead in the Alpine McLaren battle. Is it McLaren ahead?
Alpine.
Alpine's ahead. I think it would take a lot for McLaren to get Alpine, but I think Mercedes can definitely get Ferrari if they keep this pace up like they had at Brazil today, because the Ferrari just doesn't seem to be competitive at all. I mean, today was maybe an exception with Sainz. It's a short lap time though; it's a minute something, so more cars are going to be involved. But I think Mercedes have a shot at getting Ferrari. McLaren maybe not so much. I do think Aston Martin or Haas, those positions down there could change because there's only a few points. So with one race to go, so anything really could happen there. But going, I think for the first half of the race, I really was liking Vettel's chances and having a great, great finish. I thought at some point he was like, man, he's running fifth. You never know. Maybe a sneaky podium out of nowhere if something crazy happened. But I don't. He didn't even get points today. It really turned around on Aston Martin, and the opposite to Alpine. Alpine went from way back, and Alonso fifth at the end. Like what? Pretty crazy that he was able to come up from way back from the sprint race and get a P5. He was battling with the Red Bulls. He was overtaking Perez, better tire, yeah, but those were interesting points, and it's all to play for. And all these positions really do mean a lot for teams, especially, but the drivers is more so pride, I guess you can say. But going, I guess that's really the only thing left would be the team orders, because there was quite a few. I don't know, anyone else have anything they picked up on throughout the race that besides the team orders or anything else? Did we miss anything? I'm
we
not too
covered
sure.
most. We
Covered,
a
yeah.
lot of it.
Covered most of it. The important stuff, definitely. There's probably little stuff that we missed, but
Yeah,
Yeah, so
nothing was
what'd you guys think of the team orders? Because we had some from Ferrari, we had some from Red Bull, which is probably the most talked about after the race, and we also had some from Alpine, and even a little bit of Mercedes. They talked
Yeah.
about it at the end, but all good. They
Um,
said the good things. They said,
yeah.
"All right, we're gonna let them race," but you still had to. They still asked for permission. So 4 teams that they aired was okay. Are we racing each other? Don't hold this person up. Can you give the position back?
normal stuff.
What do you think? Because it seemed a little much from what we're really used to on a given Grand Prix weekend.
I think if we touch up on the Alpines, I think we'll leave Red Bull for last. But the Alpines, I think they told Ocon to not fight Alonso. Alonso had better tires. So, but then Ocon, I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding the way that the engineer told him. It pretty much was telling him to just let Ocon, let not Vettel,
You get it right.
Alonso pass by pretty much immediately and forget about your race. Because he was saying, no, I need to get past Vettel. And they were like, yes, get past Vettel, but don't hold up Alonso. And I guess the team was a little too mad and weren't understanding themselves. But I think they all worked out. They both got past Vettel pretty quickly, and they won incident less for the end.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think because in the moment they were in the safety car, so yeah, Alonso had better tires, but Ocon couldn't just let Alonso by as soon as the green flag start, because then that would, hinder an opportunity for Ocon to get a position himself for the team as well. So I think it was a little miscommunication of, all right, I will let Alonso by because he's on a better tire, and I agree with that, but I can't do it right away. I have to maybe try to get Vettel first, maybe some other cars, and then if he's coming right up behind me, yeah, I'm not going to fight it. He's got much better pace due to the tire that he was on. So, yeah, little feisty there, but they had to show it, and it worked out good. They both got some good points for Alpine. But what about Ferrari? And then we'll leave Red Bull for last. What'd you think about Ferrari? Leclerc asking the team to let Sainz give him the position for third place, a podium, which you can argue Leclerc had no business being in third place for the entirety of the race. That would have been a big one.
It was a little bit selfish from Leclerc. You're taking away your team's podium and he wasn't even close. He was 4 seconds behind Sainz, and I think Alonso or Ocon was only a second and a half behind Charles. So if they did try to switch it around, like they said that they would be at risk of almost losing both of them, So it was wrong of Charles to ask, but he didn't really know where Sainz was also standing, or at least, so I don't really blame him for asking, but it was the right thing for Ferrari to deny the team orders.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can't blame a driver for at least trying, right?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with asking, but it wouldn't have been the right decision if they did.
Yeah, and Sainz would be like, yeah, right. Not from 4 seconds back. I mean, if he's right behind me and, we're going to fight over position, not even. He had no business being there, but.
I have a question. So there's a lot of drama surrounding P2 and the drivers. Is there a monetary incentive between P2, P3 or something, or is it just strictly bragging rights, which is good enough on its own? You want to be as good as you can, but is there money to gain out of P2? Do you know?
Not
the drivers, I don't believe so.
Drivers, no. Constructors, yes.
Yeah, I knew about constructors. So all of this is just over pride, really, right?
It's for
go fuck yourself. It's the whole point of. But then again, it is the whole point of you racing. It would be Sergio's best championship finish. Saying, hey,
we got Leclerc, right? It would be his best second.
Yeah, it would be too. So, but then again, you're not just gonna tell.
Good enough reason.
You're not just gonna tell the driver, oh, you're not gonna gain anything from second, so just don't even try. Kind of like telling a driver to just not go fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
So,
also
I was wondering if
it's-
there's like more to it.
yeah, I don't know, because like I think finishing top three in the drivers is a big deal. I don't think like if you finish sixth to seventh, that doesn't really mean much. But I can understand fourth to third. I feel like the top three is really you know seeked highly of in Formula One, given that we do podium ceremonies,
Yeah.
and even after the season, these three drivers will go to that ceremony thing that a lot
oh
of the
yes, that
drivers
that
don't
that
like
that
to.
ceremony.
They don't like to go to. A lot of the drivers, like I remember back when we met drunk Kimmy. He went with Vettel and Hamilton. They don't like going to that because they've done it so many times. But for a driver that maybe hasn't gone to one of those ceremonies, it means it's a good accomplishment to finish top three. Because only one is going to win the drivers, which is very hard to do. A lot of things have to go in place for that to happen. But you want to finish in the top three. But I think what's the gap from third to fourth? It's 290, I believe. Both are even, Leclerc and Perez. But who's in fourth, and what's the gap difference?
I think Russell was in fourth.
I'm looking.
You're looking.
So P3 is Perez, or I guess he's tied with Leclerc at 290. But then from 290 it goes down to 265. George Russell P4.
Okay, so that's not changing. So you guys are definitely confirmed for second and third. So I don't really know. It shocked me that all these Perez, Red Bull, and Ferrari and Leclerc, they were like trying to get this P2 for them as if it meant something. I mean, it is bragging rights, but it's also like you're still getting top three. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to be throwing all these strategies at the wall for you to get these positions. Yes, it would be good for you to get them, but like let's play our races through. It's like you have both drivers had all season to get all these points, and just at the end of the season now you're begging for a few points here and there just to confirm it. Like, no, you had all season to
I
maximize
mean,
your points, so continue doing
I
what
mean,
you're doing and do it.
you
That's how
could
I
also
see it.
say the same about championship. I mean, you had all this time to be enough ahead to where you wouldn't need help from team orders to get the championship. You know,
Yeah, I think that's a little different because it is the most prized possession is the championship for the drivers or constructors, but um, it just seemed weird. We never really see it, I guess. Oh, let's try to help our teammate so he can get second in the championship. I don't know. It seemed weird to me, but I get it. But
Now we
just
got a
seemed weird.
Red Bull in the driver's standings going to Abu Dhabi. Where have I heard that before?
Well, not Ferrari. Ferrari's never gotten that far.
I said Red Bull.
Yeah, just Red Bull. um, yeah, the Red Bull team orders were also interesting, and a lot of people were looking at that after the race as well. Obviously, they asked. Now, this one, I don't know, because Ferrari never said to Leclerc or Sainz, "Oh, let this person by, and then maybe you get it back" or anything. Nothing was entitled to. Nothing was entitled to happen on them to change positions, but it seemed like Red Bull initiated that Perez let Max through. Let's see if he gets Alonso. If not, we're going to swap the positions back. And that didn't happen. So that is a little wrong. If they promised, okay, give up the position, and then you get it back. But if that didn't happen, then what? We saw that when Hamilton and Bottas were teammates a few years ago. That same little thing had happened. He couldn't get the position. I forget what race, but they did, give the position back, and that's good teamwork and good teamsmanship between them. But we didn't see that here today. But what do you guys think of Max? Was he entitled to keep the position? Did the team kind of just say, okay, Perez give it up and then we'll give him back? But did Max know about that? Did Max not even agree with it? And he's like, all right, you're going to give me the position, great, but I'm going to keep it. But he didn't tell the team that. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Like, if that's the deal, that should have been the deal. Sounds like Max either didn't know or didn't agree to that part of the deal. And like, kind of back, bouncing off what I just said, like Max is done. Like, he won. Like, what? Why does he care about? What was it? What was the position? Was it P5, P4?
P6, P5,
P6,
P5 and P6. Yeah.
Like, why is Max so adamant to get the P5 here? Like,
Well, he did. I think he finished sixth, but
or sixth.
Alonso was fifth, so sixth, seventh for Max
Okay,
Perez.
yeah, even more insignificant, I'd say. Like what? Why is he so like hell-bent on P6? Like, especially considering he has already won, and like to do that to your teammate who has helped you, like, I don't know, throw him a bone here. Like, P6, really? That's why you're gonna cause all this drama over it? So I think that's lame. But like, it sounds like there's a much more like deeply rooted issue he has with Checo, referencing something from last summer. I don't know what that could be. Like I said, like over what something I think in general F1 terms is so like insignificant
It's
relatively.
petty. It's petty.
Like,
Is what
why?
It is.
Seems so unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, he said he had his reasons, and Max said he had his reasons that he told the team, and he's sticking by those, and that's why he didn't let Perez through. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, what are those reasons? Because he said reasons, so is there more than one?
Yeah.
I don't think he's upset
I don't
with
know.
Perez at any point. I don't know what Perez did to
Piss him off.
hurt Max at
I
all.
have my theory.
If
I
anything,
think I
he's helped.
know what it was.
Go
It
ahead,
was
let's see.
that I don't know if it's true, but I've seen some tweets and stuff that Marco, and I think that old man is probably the last person you want to hear, you want to listen to. But he said that Sergio significantly admitted to crashing out on purpose in Monaco.
In qualifying, I heard that too after the race.
Yeah, but then again, that's not a reason why to really, at that point you would have just like talked about it. But Matt did say that he had his reason from the summer. So, and
The
he said
summer, he said.
in the summer. Yes, he said in the summer.
in the
I don't know.
summer. But what
I
happened
don't
in
know
the
if
summer to
I
where
thought it may have
anything
been
team
last
orders?
summer.
Monaco was a lot. Monaco was way before the
Spring. It
summer.
was
So
May.
Yeah, it was like
Mayish,
May
but
6th or something like that. Or no, May 20th, I think, is what the race date was.
yeah, that's the only thing I can think about. But then when Checo was asked in an interview, what could be the reason why Matt said that he had his reason? Checo looked confused, like genuinely confused. So
yeah, I don't know if
Um,
it's really a reason to say. It's like, at least for the fans, saying that this Monaco incident is the reason. It's like you could pick any. They didn't have many altercations together, but let's say they only had one. You're going to pick the one and say this is why. I don't think that is it. I'm thinking if he said that he gave reasons to the team from the summer, I would say it would be from this season. I don't think you're going back to last season. I don't
there
think
is a message that
they want to
says
be.
Xandermar said that on the radio he said last summer. So
Oh, okay.
I think that implies 2021.
So maybe well, then you would have to look back and say, all right, was there team orders last summer or so?
there
that
was team
happened?
order.
Yeah, there was. Now you have to look into
They're all to
Okay.
Matt stuff.
their ultra what?
And they're all to Mats. So all the
All
team
to
orders that were
Mats.
last year, like it was for Mats to go on and pass Checo, which is what brings me into the interview that Checo had in Spanish, which I switched over after the race because, you know, I was like, okay, if Checo's going to say something, he's going to say it in this interview. You know, it's not a main broadcast and not a lot of people listen to it. So, and what Checo said was, and I will get the quote real quick. I don't remember what exactly he said. I understood what he said.
Play the Family
While
Feud
you
music
while you
or
look
the
that up,
Jeopardy music.
while you look that
Here.
up, I have my theory of what happened.
It
What
is. He says, "I don't understand why Mats didn't give me the position after all I've done for him. I'm very surprised that of what he did, and it's just something that I was very surprised to see from him. But if he has 2 championships, it is because of me. So
Which
Yeah, I
he's
disagree
not.
with the last part.
Every
Perez has no
the
right
first
to say
championship, yes,
both of your championships is because of of me. Like you couldn't even drive your car to half of what he could. So I don't know about that, but he's definitely helped. But it's not like Max Verstappen, 2-time champion, with the help of Sergio Perez. No, that
I
has
mean
not
the first one
happened.
is. I wouldn't agree with him with the second one, but I would agree with him with the first one. Like
I
hugely
mean, he's
agree with
helped
the
them, but
first
I
one.
mean, Bottas helped Hamilton, and it doesn't say Hamilton
Uh,
with Bottas's help or Bottas because the rest of the field sucked. It's just
yeah,
you take the
but
season as is at face value.
here,
That's what it is.
here's the thing, though. With Bottas, it would usually just be that Bottas would let him go by, and sometimes. But the reason why you would agree with Checo is because Checo held up Hamilton. He completely decided to ruin his race, and helped out Matt to win it just because he was being a good teammate. Um, and he held up Lewis for like 7 seconds, costed him. And coming to the later of the race, the safety car came out. Lewis was only 11 seconds ahead of Matt's, and you needed to be like within 15 seconds or more in order to be able to pit and still come out in front. And if Checo didn't hold them up and the safety car came out, Lewis could have just went straight on and pitted for the softs and wouldn't have to worry about anything. So,
I mean, he's
and then
definitely helped out, and if you're referencing last Abu Dhabi, definitely helped out.
Don't forget Bottas helped out Lewis in Hungary too.
Yeah, well, not only
okay, that's not
not only
helping.
that, but,
Okay,
there's been many times Bottas has helped Hamilton, and the thing is, Hamilton has actually helped Bottas in certain races as well. So it's
yes,
not just one going
he's helped
towards one
out.
person.
Yeah.
Hamilton's also had said, "All right, let me get past Bottas. If the position doesn't happen, he'll give it back." I think that was Hungary.
It
Now
was
that I
in
think about it,
Hungary 2017.
and he gave it
Pretty
back. I
sure,
think that was for a third
or
place.
2018. It was
So
it was for third. It was for third place. He told Mercedes to let Bottas go by, and that if he doesn't, he'll let Bottas come back. And here's the thing: it was for the championship. This place was for the championship. You know.
yeah, I
So
mean,
the fact that Lewis, after being in the position that he wanted to, kind of be, and then just even though he knew that his championship was at risk, he still, without hesitating, let Bottas come back. Mercedes
yeah.
didn't even have to tell him, okay, let Bottas now by. He did it himself. So
He's a great
that's the
teammate in that
difference.
regard. They had good respect for each other, which is weird that this happened all of a sudden. But Tribor, you said you had a theory of
Yeah,
why.
so people keep talking about Checo and Monaco. I think that family man Max might be upset with Checo's alleged infidelity in Monaco. Maybe that's why he didn't let him take the position back.
As in what? Because he spun?
Checo allegedly was talking to some other women that weren't
Oh
his
yeah,
wife in Monaco. So maybe family man Max did not like that.
Okay, I
yeah.
gotcha.
I mean,
I think there's no. This is my theory. Now, people will say it's like a dick move, selfish move. Okay. Well, now I'm going to be referencing this, but I wasn't able to watch. I didn't watch all those seasons at the time, right? So I can't say if someone else did, it might be different. But there was a time when Vettel was at Red Bull, and he was very much kind of like Max. I think it's really rooted up from Horner and the old man that you kind of have to be the selfish, young. Max is still young. Vettel when he was at Red Bull, young, selfish. There's many times, multi 21 or 22, whatever it is. Multi 21, isn't it? 21? 21. I think it's 21. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're like when they call in 21 and ask if they can
It
do
was.
something for them.
Yeah, I'm just making sure it was 21, not 22. I guess the year and everything is making me confused. But there was a time, Vettel got booed when he, because he was winning so much, and he really turned around once he went to Ferrari, and then now he's like the most loved person. But not saying that'll happen to Max, but I mean, could it? Um, you know, it,
Sure.
it it's a selfish move, yeah. But listen. Max is the guy at Red Bull. Oh well, he's the one putting those good laps together. He's definitely got the speed. You look at the last couple teammates he's had, with Perez, Albon, and Gasly.
Mediocre.
He's beaten them silly. By how much? His last true teammate is now just signed as a reserve driver, Daniel Ricciardo, and even then, that was like one of his first 2, 3 seasons in Formula One. At least got him moved up to a big team. So even then was there or thereabouts. But you could see, Max was starting to get that favoritism there, and I think Max doesn't want to give a position to somebody who he is like, you're not on my level. Why do I have to help you? Like, if anything, you have to help me because this is my team. I'm number one in this team, and you're even lucky to be in the seat next to me. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think it's really all of that. And he thinks like that because it's half his personality. You could also see it by his driving standard. He's very aggressive, but it's also supported by Christian Horner and forgetting his name right now. Marco, Helmut Marco.
Yeah.
It gets supported by them as well, as if that's the right thing. And he's signed a long-term deal. He's he's the driver, and he doesn't want to give to his number two. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think also it could be because if you look at the gap at the end of the race, Max was 4 or 5 seconds ahead of Perez on a either different strategy or just purely speed.
No,
But he was
he
also a
had
half a
stops.
second. He was a half a second behind Alonso, so there was still a shot that if Alonso missed the last corner, he'd still get him, or something could happen. I think if it was more on the fact of they're both equal speed, then he would give it back. Or if you're going to be up here battling more and you're going to be, supporting the team more, maybe then I'd give it to you. But if you're 5 seconds behind me, I clearly had the better strategy. There's no reason I have to give it back to you. By the time I do that, we have to count a whole lap that far back. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that's kind of what I feel is the reason why. And that's why he didn't give up any of those reasons, because I think it is petty like that. I think he really does think, hey guys, I'm putting this lap time in, I'm here forever. This is my team. I don't know. That's what I kind of think of it all. And I like that. I don't know. Like, wait until someone else gets into the number 2 spot and starts delivering to some degree of what Max is doing, and then we can talk, right? But right now, you know, don't ask me to do, these chores. I'm this top guy in this seat. I'm not going to do anything else. But I don't know if you guys agree or if that's a hot take, but
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it was also been backed up by you know Christian and so on. They have been, you know, kind of backing up that, you know, that selfishness that match show. But is it the right thing? No. But I mean, you know, you did. I don't know. It's just it's not the right thing. But then again, it's I don't know how to explain it. But yeah,
I think with any successful team, it helps to have a clearly defined 1 and 2 driver. So like team orders to let Max through, yeah, do that. Why wouldn't you? I agree with that. Don't lose time for either of your drivers. To do it, to not do it, to do it the other way around, I, like I said, I don't see why not let Checo get through, get some 2 extra points to help get P2 in the standings. Like I don't know, well, but yeah, I don't know. It's tricky. I saw a tweet. I don't know if it was real that Red Bull will be like fully behind Checo in Abu Dhabi to try and get P2.
I heard that too. I think now going into next week, I think, you know, the team's going to talk to Max and say, hey, if it comes down to the final race at Abu Dhabi, you're going to do what your teammate did. And I think he'll do it because it's the last race, Abu Dhabi, the last shot. And I agree, you have to do it there. But maybe
he'll
not
do it
Brazil, the second to last race, because then you could argue he could have been, you know, letting Perez through for the last 10, you know, races as soon as he wrapped up in Japan. You know, he's like, nah, I'm not going to let hit just because I wrap my championship up doesn't mean I can't keep continuing to get my performances in. You know, I'm going to help him out, but only like in the last race if it's dire need. All right, he still has to do what he does. I can't drive the car for him.
I think Max will do it just because solely of the hate that he'll get after.
I don't
do it
I don't
next
think
week.
he listens to that, but I
He'll
do
do it
think he
next
will
week.
help. It would be hilarious to watch Max just be a leech on Charles Leclerc the whole race, slowing him down, terrorizing him. Because he has the pace to be faster. He could just like defend the whole race if he wanted to on Leclerc. That would be pretty funny to watch. Yeah, so I think what are we giving this race review?
Oh yeah.
I think we all liked it. So if if you haven't listened before, Blade, I like to assign sector colors to the race. So like the purple race is great. It goes purple, green, yellow, and then red is the worst race. So I think I'll give this a purple. Like there was a lot going on. Like I said, like there's not much more action that you could ask for on a given weekend. It's at least a very strong green. I'll give it a purple race.
Yeah, I'll give it a purple. You know, I mean, you couldn't really ask more. I mean, you know, you had this the spicy qualifying of, you know, A-Mag getting pole position, you know, and getting Haas their first pole, and him getting his first pole. George, a top you know, top team being out in qualifying, and Charles being far down. You know, it put the qualifying where it needed to be. And then coming into the sprint race, you had overtakes, you had drama with Alonso and everyone on. And then coming into the race, you have even more drama, and then a great overtakes. You have a great storyline where Mercedes, you know, where they were the whole entire season, you know, pretty much struggling to make it out of Q1 at times. All of a sudden, they're back up at the top, getting a 1-2 on pure pace, qualifying well too. I mean, Lewis did get eighth, but then again, everyone's qualifying was cut short because of it. So, but yeah, it's definitely a purple race.
D'Angelo, any what are you thinking?
Really have no final thoughts. It was just a very entertaining weekend, honestly. And hopefully we get another one in Abu Dhabi, but we all know how that tends to go, so.
And we could see how it goes. And for me, I think you know, if I have to use this poorly designed rating system, I would give it a purple sector. But if you're gonna go with on a more truer to scale, I would probably give it a 9 out of 10. I think it was an excellent race. It was it pulls at these are the types of races it pulls at the heartstrings of true Formula One fans. You had two great stories. Magnussen getting pole, Russell with his first win. Really nice. The only thing that lacked for me was any sort of battle at the front, right? It was pretty much Russell got off the lights right off the start and he held it. And he wasn't really under threat at the end. The end was a little exciting. All right, you got your safety car. It wasn't manufactured either. It was you needed it for the situation. But there was no battle up front, no lead changes, no strategy there. It was once he had that gap over Perez and the rest of the field, it was kind of settled. If we had a little bit more of a battle, I think it would have been nice. It would have been a perfect race, I think. I still like Russell winning. Just a little bit more towards the front would be good for me. But I think that'll do it for here. We are in the penultimate round for TCR for the United States Grand Prix, so tune in for that this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern for silver, golden, and platinum. And yeah, thank you to Captain Blade for joining us here on as a guest today.
Yep. Thank you for having me. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll see you come back in the future. You'll never know. And for those who are still wanting to get on the podcast, we will definitely get you on. You just got to be patient and make sure to follow TCR on all social medias and join the Discord server where we are the most active. And until next week, thank you for listening.